We've talked defense and midfield, and now it's time to review the season that was for the Barcelona forwards. Unlike the defense, who leaked in a few too many goals, Barcelona's attack scored 18 goals more than the big Madrid sides, 85 to 67 for their opponents. That should have been enough to win the league, but the big critique for the guys up top is the lack of goals in the games that mattered. As I review the attackers, the line that will keep ringing throughout the list of forwards is that price tags need to equal final product and production. Forwards are loosely meant to put the ball in the back of the net, or at least create the goals. And some of them did that, and some of them didn't. But as much as I'd love to be objective, the expectations of individual players is set by how much the club paid for that production, or lack thereof. I probably could have spent the whole video talking about Lionel Messi, but his 30 goals in the Liga is only a little more than 1/3 of the team's total goals in that competition. So let's start on the other end of the age spectrum. Oh, Ansu Fati. Not where I wanted to start this, but fitting it starts with Barcelona's best player through the first month of the season. 5 goals and 4 assists in 10 matches to kick off the campaign, including a ridiculous showing against Villarreal to kick off La Liga. That got you thinking about how the reigning golden boy of world football would raise his level as an 18-year-old. We'll talk about the injuries for a long time, so I'm judging this season on just what we saw. His decision-making is still a work in progress, but his talent is better than anyone else with an age that starts with a 1, and he showcased that until the moment he got injured. Now let's move on to Messi. The one criticism of the Argentine this season is that he didn't come up big enough in the big games. That's where the criticism ends though. This was his best season as a captain. He led young players and galvanized a team that was in 8th place at one point to the Copa del Rey trophy and almost to the Liga title. I know the credit should be shared, but we watched the matches. 38 goals and 14 assists in 47 matches. And those are just the surface stats. When it came to the advanced stuff, dribbles, key passes, you name it, he was close to or topped the charts in every advanced offensive metric in Spanish football. For a man who wanted to leave and is now 33 years old, Messi sure didn't show it. He had more defensive pressures than he's had in 3 seasons and cared when Barca didn't have the ball. It's hard to pick his best game of the season. He was untouchable against Elche, Huesca, Real Sociedad, and Adafe, all of those in the second half of the year. And to think, he had a slow start to the season by his standards. Just 1 goal in the first 5 matches of the season. His 2021, though, as good as it gets. It was the best year of Ousmane Dembele's Barca career for no other reason than he stayed relatively healthy for most of the year. Finally playing 44 matches and close to 2,700 minutes. The lack of a typical number 9 did have an effect on his season, as he played in that role when the team initially switched to the 3-5-2. It wasn't really a position that suited him, but it did work sometimes. 11 goals and 5 assists is a fair season, but Culés are still wanting more. Fortunately, he is still 24, and this has been his healthiest season since he was a 19-year-old. So Dembele, kind of a young player, kind of not a young player, but Trincao is a young player. And young players get more excuses, and rightfully so. They haven't had the time to challenge themselves and make mistakes, and a lack of effectiveness can be chalked up to inexperience. For Trincao, his 30+ million euro price tag gave him a much shorter leash than another 21-year-old in his position. Coming from Braga, having scored 8 goals, I predicted that he would score 4 goals this season in what I thought would be one full of growing pains playing on the right wing and learning how to adapt with Messi and company. 3 goals and 2 assists in 42 appearances wouldn't be that big of a deal if expectations for him hadn't been so high. The only issue with those 3 goals is that 2 of them came against Alaves back in February. So what about the Robin to Messi's Batman? The 30-year-old Antoine Griezmann is the hardest player to judge in the entire squad. He scored 20 goals for the club across all competitions this season, plus 12 assists, playing 51 matches and 3,900 minutes. His second season at the club was certainly better than the first, but he'll always be judged based on his outrageous price tag, money that Atletico Madrid used to reinforce their squad properly and win the Liga. His defense was industrial, but advanced metrics like pressures aren't his kind. He actually averaged less pressures of the ball in the attacking third than Dembele did, who had a respective 6.9 per match. Offensively, though, it was all about nurturing his partnership with Messi. There were some highs, like during Barca's run to the Copa Trophy, but there were some lows too, especially in important matches. And finally, Martin Braithwaite. Remember right before the change to the 3-5-2 when Martin Braithwaite was starting because it was better to use an actual number 9 next to Griezmann to bring out the best in him? Without a proper 9, as they say, Barca struggled this season. Braithwaite may wear the number, but he was never supposed to be the savior, and I'm not going to punish him for that. He did have 7 goals and 4 assists, so not too shabby, though I'm not sure if that says more about him or more about being a poacher in a side with Messi. He always put in a good shift, did bag the occasional goal, but was rather ineffective for a team that still seems just a bit above his level. So there it is, grades for all first team players, rounding out with these forwards. I'm sure you'll let me know who I should have been harder on down in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe to this channel while you're down there. And until then, Forza Barca.